Hello, everybody. We're almost ready to get started. This is Robin Luther from Tosa, and I'd like to welcome you to Tosa Talks, Building a Diverse, Thriving Community, an ongoing Facebook Live series proudly sponsored by our generous friends at Bostic. Tosa Talks features 3 monthly presentations designed to provide meaningful discussions around racial and social justice issues to support the work of building an inclusive, anti-racist community. We're excited for tonight's presentation with Emilio DeTorre, Executive Director of Milwaukee Turners. This presentation is part of the Tosa Talks Equity and Inclusion track that streams live at 7 p.m. on the 3rd Wednesday of each month. This will be our last presentation of 2020. It's been a good start to our year. Please join us again in January for the personal story track on the 2nd Tuesday and the equity and inclusion track on the 3rd Wednesday, and the government department and organization track on the last Thursday of each month. You can watch every Tosa Talks presentation on our Tosa Together YouTube channel. I'd also like to encourage everyone to take part in the live question and answer session tonight. Please add your comments and questions for our speaker right into your Facebook comments section during the presentation, and we'll address those in the second half of the presentation. And it's now my pleasure to introduce tonight's host, Rebecca Salauda.
Hello, I am Rebecca Salauda from Tosa Together, and I'm delighted to welcome tonight's guest, Emilio DeTorre, former Director of Community Engagement for the ACLU and the new Executive Director of Milwaukee Turners. Emilio is the Milwaukee Turners, is Wisconsin's oldest civic group. Prior to this, Emilio's work with the ACLU was for 14 years. There he started the Legal Observer Program, served on the statewide election protection team, and worked to organize around criminal legal system reform, immigration rights, voting rights, and police accountability statewide. He currently serves on the board of directors for Shakespeare in the Park, on the steering committee for the Milwaukee National Lawyers Guild, and was the 2013 recipient of the YWCA's Eliminating Racism Award. Emilio is dedicated to advancing the health, civil liberties, and civil rights of all people, and is devoted to his family and friends, even though, as I understand it, he is so devoted tonight, but it is also one of his kids' 11th birthday party.
This is true. That's why I'm throwing espresso down after all the cake.
So Emilio, thank you so much, especially on such an important day, for talking with us. So welcome.
Thank you. I am only too happy to join you here in kicking 2020 goodbye.
Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to start a little bit, have you talk a little bit about the work that you did with the ACLU. I mean, you were there for 14 years. I think most people who have done civil rights work in Milwaukee know who you are. If you've been to a protest, you've seen Emilio. You have been in many ways the public face of the ACLU for so long. So how did you get into it, and tell us a little bit about the work you did there?
Sure. So, well, travel back in time to 2006, 2005. We're still living in New York. My wife and I was born in New York, and my wife was born out here. So I'd never met anybody quite as exotic as a Wisconsin farm girl living in New York City. I didn't think those were real, I just thought of Little House on the Prairie and Holly Hobby, and it was very exciting. But, it's expensive to raise kids in New York City, and I had a great job. I used to work for Madison Square Boys and Girls Clubs. I was Director of Education Services for about 15,000 young people in Brooklyn, Bronx, and Queens. Great people, great young people, great team, incredibly long hours. And, if you're doing work in Far Rockaway or the Bronx or Flatbush, Manhattan, you're all over the place. And there was no way to have, a new wife, a young baby. And so we decided to come out here and give this a whirl. The ACLU was really the only job I applied for out here. I applied when I was in New York. I love the mission of the ACLU. I love the ACLU of Wisconsin to protect and promote the civil rights and civil liberties of all people in the state in a nonpartisan fashion. And I remember that because I was part of the retreat when we recrafted the mission. But it was wonderful work, and I love it. You know, for 14 years, it changed a lot while there. We had a lot of different youth programs in the beginning, some restorative justice programs, working with young people where they were at to help them to organize around issues that mattered to them, as opposed to just didactically presenting them a curriculum. And gradually, over the course of time, identifying these uniform needs that young people needed met in high school, in college, and then rolling up that organizing with adults, recognizing that although younger people, younger humans need to direct their own lives and have autonomy and have nonpartisan referees, and any adult watching this should step in and assist young people with navigating incredibly different and difficult frameworks that they have, whether it's a bureaucracy for a school, whether it's a school that's doing things like putting armed police officers in their buildings, or a school that's being hostile or toxic to people somewhere in the LGBTQ two-spirit spectrum, or folks that are Black or Native or Latinx or Asian, and treating them differently because they are not respected in that community because of white supremacy or racism. It's all of our obligation, not just the ACLU. But it was a pleasure to work in Tosa East and West, in in West Bend, and Eau Claire, and Racine, and all over Milwaukee with all these bright young folks, and then also connect them to adulthood. I speak to folks all around our country who never learn civics, who don't understand what their rights are. They believe all sorts of strange rumors, like Mikey died from mixing Pop Rocks and 7-Up. We have constitutional and legal urban myths that we've incorporated, right? Like, oh, a cop's got to tell you he's a cop if you ask him, wink, wink, nod, nod, and then you'll know. That's not true, but folks believe that, and adults as well as young people.
Or there's election fraud, vast election fraud, and
oh yeah, I heard they were just busing people in from Canada to participate in our election. The next thing you know, we're going to have more Celine Dion and Rush in the schools, and that's just un-American. But it was wonderful and great. The issues that the ACLU face don't change, but the tactics have to change based on what those threats are, whether it's gerrymandering, whether it's, one of the highlights of my career there with the ACLU was organizing with folks to prevent a prison for like an immigration internment camp happening in the western part of the state in Minnesota, or working with the common councils in different cities like Madison and Eau Claire. Even now, watching young folks that were in our student alliances who are elected officials, like Max Prestigiacomo, who's a new older person in Madison. This is great. Or the different student leaders that then go on and you connect with their families generationally. It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, I can speak just personally. You helped my eldest child start up the ACLU group at Tosa West, and to my knowledge, that's still going. And it's been a great opportunity for students to get together and talk about issues and bring in presenters and things like that. So
I think it's great. And your children in particular are a fantastic example of students that take those kernels, and it's just more fuel for the fire that they're burning and eating and creating and consuming. It's wonderful.
So you did all of this fabulous work at the ACLU. Then you go over to the Turners. What caused you to make that leap?
Sure. So as we became smarter doing the things we do at the ACLU, we realized we had to organize more and more and work more and more with communities that weren't just Milwaukee and Madison. So I'd spend time in Eau Claire and Green Bay and Rhinelander, Racine, and meeting beautiful people doing fantastic things, meeting concerned folks that want more for our country, want this American dream that we've written on paper to actually manifest, and want equity and equality and dignity and to be happy, all the things that we should be able to have. But that takes a lot of time. And, you know, my kids are getting older. My youngest one's 11. I have other ones. We realized today they're all prime numbers today. And I wanted to spend some more time with them. And I also wanted to spend more time in Milwaukee. So moving here in 2006, it's a beautiful thing. And you can tell from my accent, I think in my heart, I'll always feel like I'm a New Yorker, but I'll certainly always sound like I'm a New Yorker. But Milwaukee is beautiful and vibrant, and it needs more shoulders to the wheel here. And when I saw this opportunity open up with the Milwaukee Turners, and this is an organization I'd known about, I'd worked with, I had been friendly with a couple of their previous executive directors. Their board is legendary over the course of years. I mean, you have actually the previous executive director of 30 years, the ACLU, Chris Amity, is their treasurer, Art Heitzer, another famous attorney, president of the National Lawyers Guild here. He's present everywhere. As the president of the board, Jalili Kohler, Michael Morgan, at the time, my former colleague, Jarrett English, Claudio Cortez, Veronica Newman, who's Christine Newman Ortiz's sister. There's just a lot of great people on the board. And when I saw that they were looking for a new executive director, I began to imagine what could be done. And some of the most thrilling parts, whether it was building power statewide with different people from diverse communities and linking them all in and letting them tap into their natural power to change, like the budget or work to have clear and open elections. And we're getting ready for the budget again. It was the building process and meeting things and to have that opportunity to work with almost a tabla rasa. When I saw my ability to maybe be able to work with the oldest civic group in the state, this group that's been around since 1853 in Milwaukee, in a building that was designed by Henry, I say Koch, the same architect for City Hall in Milwaukee, or for the West Bend courthouse and jail there. This is just fantastic, and it's exciting because they have a similar mission to the ACLU. Their mission is a sound mind and a sound body, but they recognize this through 4 principles: liberty against all oppression, tolerance against all fanaticism, reason against all superstition, and justice against all exploitation. And they do that through public fora, like they're confronting mass incarceration, which are these great panels where people get to explore and talk about just how broken and huge and addictive our criminal legal system is. Or I'm not sure how many of our viewers remember the 4th Street Forum when that would broadcast. And I was watching that, and I was listening to a 1290 WMCS, where I learned about Milwaukee when I moved here. These were great news sources where they had lots of people exploring these things. And I'd love to bring back the 4th Street Forum, but as say the Vel Phillips Forum now, to honor the hero on whose street we sit.
So maybe
a rock climbing wall and a gym and ghosts. It's great.
You could take a step back, because I think, you know, honestly, like you were saying, I've known of the Turners. I knew it was a building. Art has talked about it in the past, but I didn't, I don't really know that much about what it's done. And maybe you could talk about what it's done recently, and then we can get into where you're hoping to take it.
Sure. Rebecca, I didn't know so much about what it had done either. I'd hosted some events there. I'd worked with different groups there. I'd participated in actions and activities there. But I think that what makes being at the Turners so exciting to me is its potential. So when you look back, and I'm discovering things by reading through archives. I've got, it's like you're working in a bit of Hogwarts there. There's all this like.
I knew you'd bring Harry Potter into this.
I love it. Yeah, you know, on the shelf next to my desk are 3 urns containing the cremated remains of 3 previous Turners. I have like fencing foils next to my desk. There's drinking steins everywhere. I found boxes with like paper plates and also flags with 48 stars and just stuff. It's so exciting. And as you look through and I'm reading through these newsletters and I'm seeing all these prominent folks that have been Turners over the years, the 3 socialist mayors of Milwaukee, as well as other mayors. You know, the Milwaukee Turners helped provide the bodyguard for Abraham Lincoln for his inauguration, as well as his funeral, because they were known fencers and sharpshooters. They were very active in pushing back against the Nazis during World War II, being the first organization in the state to outlaw Nazis as members, and pushing the federal government to take action against Germany even before Kristallnacht. So we're going to like early 1938, and they're pushing on this. You know, they were staunch abolitionists. I have a monument to that. They were suffragists. It's one of the reasons why the Germans who founded the 48ers, who founded the Milwaukee Turner movement, looked up to Thomas Paine as the founding father, not the other ones, because Thomas Paine was also an abolitionist. And that was an incredibly important tenet for them, as they have always been a liberal society. And seeing this and knowing that they had been so active and so vibrant for so long, I saw that same opportunity to be able to take what I had learned over 14 years of working with so many different wonderful people in Milwaukee, and seeing that we could use this gorgeous, lovely building in downtown Milwaukee as a heartbeat for bringing back or creating in the first place an equitable Milwaukee that defies the segregation. And that's why it was so important and intentional for me to make my first public appearances as executive director, supporting our friends at Metcalf Park Community Bridges, supporting our friends with Ayuda Mutua on the south side, making sure that we're working as a sign of mutual aid to support people who are being victimized by this pandemic, because it's drawing an acute light to the racist infrastructure, which has generationally denied access to quality health services, food, education for Black and brown communities, and then making sure that we can work in some small way for food drives, for diaper drives, for period supply, hygiene, to figure out how we could get access so that people can come and avail themselves of our gym, which is maybe the longest continuously running gym in the US. And getting folks to have fitness, finding out what people needed to heal themselves and to cope when we're working in, you know, where all of our conversations are in Zoom, or I'm depressed and anxious because of all the misinformation and the lies I hear about political turmoil and potential war and spying, and I have to wear this mask, I can't wear this mask, I'm not a patriot if I wear this mask, I'm not a man if I wear this mask, if I wear the mask I'm gonna choke to death on carbon monoxide, all sorts of nonsense. And so giving people a place, like providing free yoga like we do. We broadcast that. We have the wonderfully talented Malkia Stampley, who's a Milwaukee treasure, providing yoga every Monday and Wednesday, and we broadcast that all over on Facebook for free. We've just designed some other programs with my friends Ambrose Wilson Brown, who's teaching mental fitness and mindfulness, Dr. Amber Tucker, sociology professor over Cardinal Stritch, who's also a martial artist, who's helping teach fitness and martial arts. Tommy Ludan, who's an attorney, who's also the CEO of Carcade, so we can provide like responsibly distanced socialization in video games, where we put these like PVC blast shields and everything's cleaned down. It's just, you know, making sure that the folks that are participating too, and we cherry picked. We worked with Black and Latinx community leaders who are sacrificing themselves to help fit a need that the government is not doing and that businesses are not doing, and they're working all day and then driving around delivering food, delivering attention, making sure that folks are getting what they need we thought it was the least we could do to provide some services for them for free so that they could get free access and membership and wellness kits that they could take home to pamper themselves. We made sure we were there opening day for Venus Williams over at her, the executive from Alice's Garden when she opened up at the Sherman Phoenix, and just emptied out a bunch of her shelves so that we could send these goods to our friends so that they could pamper. And the more we do that, the more people are excited, the more new ideas we get. We're working right now with friends from the DSA who are talking about creating a free mesh for internet. I know Walnut Way is going to be a node. We're hoping to be a node. We're taking a look at expanding some of these opportunities for our Indigenous brothers and sisters that are here. So I just reached out to Mark Denning the other day. We worked with a broad coalition of people during the election to make sure that, again, folks have this robust opportunity to vote. We worked with our friends from Milwaukee, MAI, Milwaukee Action Intersection, to set up hospitality stations and make sure there are warming stations outside of polling places. Lila Coy Moon, who we all grew up with as Lisa Bonet, reached out to us, and my friend Shahana McKinney-Baldwin, who's also a Turner, to make sure that we had nonpartisan voting educational supplies. We're doing more and more. We're very excited. We're working with the Pabst Theater, who are our tenants. I think a lot of people know Turner Hall for the Pabst concerts of late, and they're great partners, and we're working with them to do a blood drive on December 30th. So please come on out. People are just not giving blood anymore because they're afraid because of the pandemic, and we still need blood. And that's another thing on the horizons we're excited for.
So you keep saying we're doing this. Who is the we besides yourself?
That's a good question. And I'm not using the royal we. I don't believe in kings, but queens, even though I grew up in Queens. Somebody asked if my expanding knowledge of the Turners' history gave me a new frame of reference for understanding Milwaukee, and I'm going to work a little bit of that into this answer, Rebecca. Yes, because the Turners historically relied on a lot of their members and volunteers. Again, it's a membership-based organization, and in the 4.5 months I've been there, we've more than doubled our membership. So we have about 235 members now, up from about 110 or so. And part of that's been very intentional. We've been connecting with folks that have a desire to elevate Milwaukee into what it can be and not get mired down into what it was. And understanding that there are many people that want to embrace this and have an opportunity to have their voice be part of the chorus that's Milwaukee. I've been running with it. So I want to give a shout out to two of my fantastic interns, both of whom are Tosans. And this is Stephen Fisher, who's graduating this week with a degree in I believe in English and Communications from UWM. He's been tremendous, helping us make graphics and helping us do some writing and helping us with the newly revamped newsletter. And Madeline Wright, who will be graduating next semester with a master's degree in social work from the Helen Bader School of Social Welfare. Some of that other we is Professor Allison Efford, Professor Rob Smith, Professor Noel Brigden, all from Marquette University, who've been helping write in a newsletter and helping keep the history of the Turners alive and connecting classes of students who are then getting involved. Noelle Brigden is an incredible athlete too, is a power lifter, and she's been helping me work with my gym manager, Kim Kosmitis, who's my right-hand man, who's been there for a long time, who's a Milwaukee legend. And we've got this great crew of folks that work in the gym. We've got incredible rock climbing walls, gymnastics classes, all that have taken a hit due to COVID. Everything is very sparse, limited hours, special, masks everywhere, dispensers to give out all sorts of chemicals to clean yourself off. And they've been working as a team. We're rebuilding and redesigning the gym. So an anonymous donor put up a matching grant of $15,000 We were able to raise an additional $15,000 to modernize some of the windows and get lights in there. We'll never be a YMCA or a Planet Fitness, but we've gotten some really cool, like those primal kettlebells, so you can work out, with a howler monkey, a chimp, a Sasquatch, a gorilla, an orangutan, get all fit. And so just people are happy again to see this new life. The board of directors has been incredible helping. We're putting together a rock star. We've already pretty much assembled a rock star team of people that are going to help us figure out who all's going to be the new tenant for the restaurant. We have this lovely tavern. We've got these incredible murals from the 1800s that the Turners put up, envisioning some of their ideals of healthiness, of a sound mind, of interactions. And it's not so much a new incarnation of the Turners as we're, the word inspirare, inspirations, to breathe life into it. And I feel like this is my charge now from the board of directors is to help breathe life back into it. And I have, from working with my friends, Rahul Dubey from the Sikh temple in Oak Creek, after the terrible tragedy that befell there, I got to help with some other friends to commemorate what happened there, to do that. And he gave me a band that said Chardi Kala, which stands for relentless optimism. And I feel like I need to take this relentless optimism and put this into the Turners so that, we can have equity, that the Turners can represent the myriad faces that are truly Milwaukee, and then put form to the things that we've had as ideals and bring it into 2021, since 2020 has already been botched up by everybody. But and so, taking a look at some of these other questions where we're popping in, I do think it's important that we provide opportunity to demystify what our segregated identity in the greater Milwaukee area has, right? Like you have these white communities, due to redlining or whatever the history was. The founding fathers of Milwaukee got angry at one another and they didn't build bridges from one guy's backyard to the other guy's backyard, whatever the story is. How do we demystify one another? How do we get white people to spend their dollars at Black businesses? How do we get white people and Black people to know that Taco Bell is not Latino food and go spend their money at real Latino businesses? How do we get people to understand that that Asian folks and Southeast Asian folks and all sorts of Asian folks represent a myriad of different cultures, communities, languages, cuisines, beliefs, and get to know one another and converse with one another and not pretend they're colorblind, which is horribly insulting and racist, and actually grow with one another so that we can see our differences and respect the fact that we're different, but then respect the fact that we should live with one another and experience these things. Coming from Queens, and listen, don't get me wrong, it's no promised land. There's like all sorts of weird racism and stuff there. You actually grow up seeing and experiencing a lot of what you don't know. You're more comfortable with the fact that you don't know what language those two people are speaking and you can't read that sign, and you're not quite certain what's on the dish in front of you, but they're smiling and so you're going to eat it. And so when you meet somebody that's different, I feel like you're that much better equipped to understand, I might not know where they're coming from, but it doesn't mean I should disrespect them. And at the end of the day, I mean, everybody just wants a little dignity. I think we're in a good space for it.
So, so you've talked about the gym and being able to do that. How else do you foresee being able to bring people together like that? I know I've talked to others, and sometimes it's just, so I talk to some people and they're like, I'm not racist. I just don't know any people of color, but how can I? Because I live in an all-white community. Well, you've made decisions about where you're going to go and how you're going to spend your time. And so from what I'm hearing some really cool opportunities potentially for people from all over Milwaukee to get together in a social atmosphere, but maybe you could expand more on that.
Absolutely. So we did a couple of things. These ideas aren't all coming out of a vacuum. I asked 14 or 15 very different folks to help us contribute to our newsletter, which is wonderful, and that's being spearheaded by Ben Lindsay, a dear friend who's a grad student at Marquette University. Jahan Batuman, an immigration attorney, is helping. My friend Otto Workman is going to be creating art. Art Heitzer, our longtime president, is contributing. Lots of different folks contributing to it. Juan Miguel Martinez, another dear friend. So making sure that we are intentionally having lots of different voices. My past colleagues are happy to be Turners. You know, Molly Collins that I work with, her parents were on the board. You know, she's now a member. Sean Wilson that worked with me for years. Lots of people I care very deeply for. Yes, my new member.
Can I just give a shout out first? Membership is cheap.
Membership is cheap. Visit our MilwaukeeTurners.org. It's $35 a year. Family membership's only $50. You get to use the gym for that. Not necessarily a little rock climbing stuff, but you can get buff like this 51-year-old man sitting here in front of you. But we also, I surveyed my my board of directors. You know, what do you want? What has been good? What do you imagine the Milwaukee Turners to be? I've spoken with people who have spent their lives as Turners or have been invested into this. I don't, like, Kim Kosmitis has been there for a long time. I value his opinion on what he's seen. Folks like Mark Solheim from the Pabst, who's been coordinating things there since '06. I value his opinion. Al Godshaw, legend in the Riverside Pabst Turners. Like, I value his opinion. We've just created a survey for all of our members to get their ideas and concepts. CMI, we've Jalili Kohler and our partnership with Milwaukee School of Engineering. We also have 3 great interns from there, especially John Fung, who's been knocking himself out, a freshman knocking himself out, helping us on these different projects too. We have panels coming up in February, and we were able to invite Danielle Surred to come in, and she's amazing, former executive director of the Vera Institute. Her work on reimagining how we work with people in systems of violence, people who have been sentenced to incarceration due to quote unquote violent crimes. Like, you don't just forget about folks, and our criminal legal system is broken. So there's a fervent commitment to that. So it's just kind of making all of this, how does this fit and not exist as isolated things? How do we get people addressing the needs that we have and the issues that we have? And how do we also do this in a way that maintains a relentless optimism so that we can celebrate and break bread with one another too? I mean, I mentioned the Tavern Committee. That's some of the folks there. I have Judge Derek Mosley, Tariq Moody, my friends Eric and Sarah Blaschka, Dawn Bogalski, Megan McGee, Chris Piszczek, Claudio Cortez. A lot of different wonderful folks are going to help us. People I consider like the heartbeat of areas of Milwaukee are going to be able to bring that in here so that we can, I don't know, I feel very passionately about this. The more I think about it, the more excited I get. The more I have beautiful people like you reaching out saying, I want to be a member. This sounds cool. What are we going to do? How do we do this? Where do I give blood? How do I make sure people can vote?
So I'm hearing you're planning on doing like series of talks is one of the things that I'm hearing that's going to be coming out.
Yes, series of talks. We have done more physical hosting things. We provided a site location for the National Lawyers Guild and the ACLU for the legal observers during the DNC. We do trainings. I have a training coming up soon. I'll save that link with you. A lot of folks have requested knowing how do I identify internet scams and phone scams. You know, we have, all of us have elders we care about, and somebody calls in and says, you know, your social security number has been compromised, or, you know, how do you prevent grandpa from friending all these half-naked, like, bots on Facebook? You know, doesn't he realize that these 22-year-old swimsuit models are not really choosing him to be their very first Facebook friends? So these types of scams too, how do you understand when you're being hacked? These are the types of things that fit with, justice against all exploitation, tolerance against fanaticism, reason against superstition, the aspects, liberty against all oppression that we can bring as a form of education. Providing free masks, working with our friends like Rob Smith from Milwaukee, from Marquette University Center for Urban Research, Teaching and Outreach, to help provide masks. Lieutenant Governor donated thousands of masks to us at other events so that we could distribute those as well.
That's right. So are these trainings and other things, are those going to be limited to Turner members or?
No, we feel it's very important to reach out and to connect with the broader public. Turner members can hold office, they can be on our board, they can vote when we have annual meetings, and we will have things just for them. But we're working very closely to offer Milwaukee what Milwaukee needs, because that's really what the Turners have been historically. We have now more members than we've had since the 1980s.
Wow.
And I'm not sure how far back it goes. That's all I can see at the moment. I'm also trying to archive and save this history. So I'm working to identify grants to be able to scan a lot of these precious pictures. I have the lists of members from 1853, handwritten in Old German, all the way up. I want to scan those so that their descendants can see who granddad and great grandmama were. I'm very excited because the newest person on our team who came on, in late October, is my finance and administration manager, Tamika Vukovic, and she's dynamo. She's intelligent. She's been working with accounting and bookkeeping and math for 30+ years. She is the first Black woman elected to political office in Glendale. She's an older woman there. She's on the school board there. And she brings such passion, such insight, such energy to this that, the team that we've got going there and working with one another to not only do what we need to do to maintain this very old, very big building in good capacity. We have elevators. If folks are otherwise able, they can't come up all of those stairs. They need to take an elevator to these spaces, and we need to provide. We've got a parking lot out back where we can do things from time to time. We're trying to imagine what it is that we can do to meet the needs that Milwaukee and greater Milwaukee area has. We have a lot of members from around Milwaukee too, who are happy to come into this historic institution because it has meant so much for 167 years. We see it meaning more.
So it sounds like you're doing a lot of social outreach, a lot of providing masks, food and other drives, and doing education. I realize a lot of this is sort of limited with COVID. But when we were talking the other day, and I just think about finding this space where you can get together with people from all around the city in a nice, social, relaxed atmosphere to just get to know people. And so one of the things you had even mentioned, this will show my nerdy part, is you were even talking about when we can be together again, is doing like game nights. Any thoughts on that? Or
you're speaking to my inner nerd. Yes, so we have, I've been hoarding games. If folks watching this have some newer nice games, we have been socking them away. I've got like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings chess. We have Risk. We have, I know I have to get Parcheesi now for you, although I heard you Cutthroat. Gammon. We've got Walking Dead, Monopoly, and we've got cards. The opportunity to sit down and to just have some fun and play with friends. I have 4 different folks psyched to all be dungeon masters when we have this, and we're talking like actually 5, like a variety of great people. And we've got folks, Jonathan Brostoff, State Rep Brostoff is a Turner, and he loves games. County Executive David Crowley is a Turner. Like we've got a robust group of folks that can get together and talk and play. And what's better than that? We do such hard work together. We do such hard work separately sometimes, and that's really a big part of the problem. How wonderful it is for us to come together and play. Seeing these dozens of people come in these smaller cohorts recently over December, thanks to the blessing of the county to run this program to help provide physical and mental fitness for people has just made me realize how terribly I miss seeing people and spending time. And it's not the same. I'm a softy Spanish guy, right? Like anybody that knows me knows I like to hug people hello. I was taught that it's rude to not stand close when speaking, and frequently, you're touching the person, the arm, the elbow of the person with whom you're speaking. And so I have an ache because I haven't been able to do this. And I'm not alone in that. And so imagining, even now in this split up way, this responsibly distanced way where we can have people stand 10 to 15 feet apart and exercise wearing their masks, and then come and be a part and play, Rocket League or Star Fox or GoldenEye, socially distanced, is a beautiful thing. And people are laughing in a safe, distanced way. And that's another, playing games, we have to provide an opportunity to play. If we don't play, then we don't get to laugh. And if we don't laugh, then we don't get to see that part of our souls that makes us appreciate one another beyond just sameness bias or the exoticism that people will feel because there's this new person and they tokenize them as something exotic. This allows us to really get to know one another and to get to appreciate one another, and we need that.
Yeah, and to realize, just how close we really are, and sort of the humanity of the people. Although maybe if somebody's playing Parcheesi with me, they might not recognize.
My sisters refuse to play Monopoly with me, so I will skip Monopoly. I will play a garden. I like backgammon. I like backgammon because it doesn't matter how quickly you count or how strategic and good you are. There's a luck factor in there. If you roll in some crappy rolls, you can still win.
Okay, that surprises me. Your Monopoly cutthroat.
Competition.
Got it.
Capitalist, it's just, you want to win. I like the Star Wars one.
So we've talked about, education, and, this sort of social aspect and the getting out and providing for the community. But I also know that I believe, aren't there spaces in Turners for performance art and things like that?
Oh, yes.
So there's
Turner Hall is a big, beautiful building, and we're planning a variety of different things. So the Pabst Riverside Theater Group rents out the ballroom, and they show concerts. They do elopements. It's a great place for folks to come and have now, especially during COVID time when you can't have a big wedding, they do these smaller elopements. It's wonderful. It's mysterious. It's beautiful. Anne, actually, I believe she's a Tosan too. Anne, who coordinates those, Anne Lenart, is incredible. Folks that go there to exchange vows and have the ceremony, you can just see them glowing as they're walking around this majestic building, and that's how it should be. But there are no live shows there now, and the folks that have worked in these spaces, like, we have to do things differently, which is very tricky. And I don't think the rules were carefully thought out, perhaps by the city, because you have all of these bars violating or having larger capacity for attendance. And then you have this giant venue that can seat 1,000 people, and they're constrained by some ridiculous little number. We also have smaller rooms that are available for folks to meet. So we are hosting my friend Brandon Williford, is the president, I believe, started a group called Social, the Students of Color for Academic Life. It's an intercollegiate group. It's predominantly Black college students who are working with one another to learn how to navigate these traditionally conservative white supremacist learning institutions. And all of them, UWM, Marquette, Stritch, wherever they're at. And Turner Hall, in a small venue where they can spread out in the Palm Garden room, is a 2,300 square foot room I have. My eldest child wired it for high speed. You can download 200 Mbps. It's where when it's empty, I go and I practice darts. And this is a great room for folks to be able to meet and spread out, feel like they are on a nice centered neutral ground, because we have that nice north parking lot and all the transportation goes. They were right across from the Fiserv. This is actually another reason why I'm very excited for the vaccines and for an end twilight to COVID is once that tavern is built, when the Bucks have this huge thing that they're building across the street, and Jeffers has already purchased the Journal Sentinel building next door. Whoever is running the tavern in there is just going to be popping because it's a huge space. It's gigantic. It's got these lovely murals. It's got this incredible bar. If any of you have, it really looks like it's something out of Ma Rainey or Peaky Blinders. Like you step into this like fantastic, incredible space. I imagine people eating there, having some sort of meaningful time over in the Palm Garden, maybe seeing a show up in the ballroom, and then losing to you in Parcheesi. But that's dwindled a little bit. We still offer some things. The Brown Berets have reformed. I've offered my space for them to have meetings.
I'm not familiar who they are.
The Brown Berets are a very important and historically Chicano rights group who has a very long and incredibly rich history in advocating for cultural equity, for rights. They have been a mutual aid society in a lot of places. I have a lot of friends who make up the newly reformed Brown Berets in Milwaukee, and they've already begun doing very meaningful clothing drives and looking out for folks. So it's great. I'm happy to help organizations that are doing these sorts of things, and folks that have the wherewithal to pay. Great, they can rent out the space. Folks that are doing socially positive things that may be able to kick in a little bit, that's a wonderful thing too. We're just very pleased to have our friends from True School, and I used to be on their board for a while too. They teach music, b-boy, b-girl, culture, graffiti arts. They also have this award-winning program called The Art of Coping, which focuses on body image, issues of depression, suicide, healthy relationships, and they explore this through arts and music. And they had, because we had such a big space down there, they were able to have their 9 or so young people come for their inaugural meeting with Fidel Verdin and Shalina Ali, both of whom are Turners. Fidel's younger brother, Julian Verdin, a Turner. These are Brian Verdin, legendary civil rights leader here in the greater Milwaukee area's kids, not Shalina, but Fidel and Julian. So it's exciting to see that happen. It's also exciting to see this new stuff happen in such a historically significant building. We just hung some new artwork, a flag that was carried by the Turners in the 1880s, the women's gymnastics group, emblazoned with the owl and a book and a torch. We have a lovely monument to the many brave men that died during the Civil War fighting the abolitionists in our building, carved out of marble and set into wood. And uniquely, the Turners were a group which at a time when anti-Semitism was virulent in the United States, they had Jewish and Christian and atheist members. And you'll see that it was proud to lift up the names of these non-Christian members as they were for any of their Christian brothers and sisters too. And I think that that's very significant, and that speaks to the fiber that is at the heart of the Milwaukee Turners, which I'd like to see rejuvenate and grow and blossom now into, who we are as Milwaukee in 2021.
Yeah, it would be exciting to see, there's so many cool performances and things like that that are looking for cool places. I can think of times that one time when we were trying to put together a Palestinian dance group, and we're really searching for a place and struggled. I wish we had thought of the Turners, because that would have been an amazing place to have had them.
It was good. We North Shore United hosted some things there, the Confronting Mass Incarceration. One of the best concerts I've seen in Milwaukee, Gogol Bordello was there. They were incredible. I hadn't seen them since New York prior to then. It's a wonderful space for that. I see we have a couple of questions on the side.
All right.
And I'd like to answer partially the one about what are the Turners doing to help address the increased polarization from the 2020 election. And one of the things that we just set up the Survey Monkey to go in the email today is one of the things we've been working with that we hope to do is to work in a broad coalition with folks to continue advocating for the upcoming budget. Governor Tony Evers is going to be presenting his budget probably at the end of February. The legislature will poop all over that, like Conan O'Brien's dog jokes, and then they'll come back with the Joint Finance Committee late March, early April, and they'll probably have 4 meetings around the state. If you imagine Wisconsin divided into quarters. And 2 years ago, I worked with my colleagues from the ACLU and many other great folks from Wisconsin Public Education Network, from Helen and all the folks from AARP, to train people on how do you even know what elected official you go to ask for what and whom. You want these things, but who controls what, and how do you know how to express your desire for your family, your neighbors, your community to these people? So we hope to be training all of our Turners and working again in a coalition. We have a lot of great folks, Block, Metcalf Park, the Mutua, MAI, all these different groups, True School that we mentioned before. And we'll be doing these trainings, and folks will be able to learn how to, because you only have 3 minutes, tell their story, like, this thing is important to me and this happened to me, and then talk about what you'd like to see fix, this injustice or this deficit, and how that can be addressed by the Republicans and Democrats in the Joint Finance Committee when they write when they write this budget. And I think that that's a really important way to begin to rebuild. Will people be angry? Yes. Has our legislature done anything to address COVID since April? No. Were folks clinging to all sorts of strange fairy tales over this presidential election? Absolutely. And do we have to hold them accountable? You're damn right. But also, we need to write a budget because we need to figure out what we're doing as a state. And if you don't make your voice heard, then what you have is just a seed in your head and a fantasy, and nobody's going to know about it. And writing it on Facebook is not going to wind its way into their ear. So I think that that's a very incredibly important and significant thing. It is the next most important thing we can do now in a state way to determine where we're going. And if you want to begin bridging, and healing and getting to diminish the polarization in Wisconsin, this is a great way because it will invariably be in person. You can, at a distance with your mask and hopefully with the vaccine, shout at the other people in a conversational way to understand what they're talking about. And we say polarizing, but it's not just Democrat and Republican. It's not just black and white. There's a gazillion different nuances in there that we forget, and having the opportunity to meet and learn from other people in a big forum like that is important. I see Dawn Bachman-Bogalski that I mentioned earlier is one of the people who's going to help me figure out how we're going to put somebody in the tavern, says hello. She's an incredible events planner and has done this internationally.
And just going back to that training, I will be very interested because I've I thought the first time I did that, I was like, oh, I know how to do this. And I know how to time my statement for 3 minutes. And I got there and boom, I totally did not come out how I wanted. And I left there very frustrated. So yes.
That happens to the best of us. I was one of only 2 or 3 people to testify at all 4 joint finance committee listening sessions the other year. So way out in like River Falls and Corcona and Janesville and I think it was Oak Creek in the Milwaukee area. And one of mine, like, I watched the video. I was like, did I say that? Is that how it looked? It's like, I don't remember.
So we're getting up on the hour. So just the last question, will Turners be doing any outreach programs in the community as opposed to just at the hall?
That's a great question. Yes, so we have, and I do show up. We our members are very committed to doing things. We're going to be doing some community drop-off stuff. I think I may have mentioned earlier, the DSA has fundraised some $1,400 and they're hoping to buy things and work with other community groups to distribute things. We work with Milwaukee Diaper Mission, who's located out there in Tosa, or at least Megan is, great community partner, shout out. Maybe she's not in Tosa, maybe she's somewhere else over there. I have a horrible sense of geography. But yes, indeed, I'm working right now with some friends on both the north and the south side to set up flu vaccination sites. And so if you'd like to reach out to me about this, especially I'm connected just recently, thanks to my friend Nicole Angresano from United Way, connecting with the executive director of the 16th Street Clinic. We're going to see if we can't work with friends to set up a series of flu vaccination sites, which are partnered with clinics, so that we can be at El Rey, we can be in all these different places throughout Milwaukee, south side, in the central area, in the north side, so that people who may not traditionally have access to a GP, don't have a relationship with a doctor, maybe don't have med insurance. A lot of folks are laid off. A lot of people are afraid to go to the doctor because you think 6 people and I don't want COVID. If we can set up an opportunity to maybe test for antibodies and get the flu vaccination out there, 1, that's very important. And 2, maybe people will be less inclined to buy into all sorts of fringe theories about COVID vaccinations and be a little more inclined to increase our collective immunity by getting these other vaccinations when they become available. And for all of you that have borne through my caffeinated explanations of what we're doing, please don't take this as a one-way street. I want this to be a 2-way street. I would love for you to get involved as a Milwaukee Turner. Reach out. If you go to MilwaukeeTurners.org, you can see a little more. It's a website. Websites are generally boring. If you go to our Facebook page, Milwaukee Turners Facebook, you can see more dynamically the things we're doing. And so I see a lot of questions about finding out about food and diaper drives. There's other things we do. I just had an op-ed today about questions about effective policing. And certainly that's a very pertinent topic to our friends here in Wauwatosa, as well as Milwaukee, as well as the rest of the United States. These are all questions that concern all of us. And if you want a forum where you can meet with other people who care about this, we'd like to be that space. And if you have ideas, bring them to us. We're working with great people. We have all of these great members who call up. We're always looking for volunteers. If you can create graphics, if you're scholarly, if you just want to listen. I have a 16-foot long oak table in my gigantic wooden office. You can be so physically remote from me in the same space, and it would warm my heart. I will give you a Turner's mask if you just want to scan photos of like these old-timey bros with handlebar mustaches from 1860, the original bros pumping like those solid old-timey weights, lifting clubs up and down. Scan these photos. Help me help me scan the photos of these this gorgeous Germanic writing of the people, so that we can take these treasures that have been hidden and this history that's hidden and share it with the world, and look at the fact that they've been a principled organization since the 1850s, and continue that rich principled tradition. And again, that's MilwaukeeTurners.org. It's MilwaukeeTurners.org. Or on Facebook, if you look up Milwaukee Turners at Turner Hall. We also have an Instagram. Woohoo! And you know, folks have been making great stuff. We're remodeling our gym right now. If you've got some gym equipment, I'm looking for an elliptical machine. I'm looking for a stationary bicycle. We've got a wonderful treadmill that Eric and Sarah Blaschka donated to us. One member was so happy to combine physical fitness with social justice. This is Emmett Gross, that he welded for us these two fantastic weighted Thor's hammers that you can use for exercise. They're awesome. Everybody that comes in there pretends to be an Avenger.
We'll make sure to put the, go ahead.
I'm sorry, nobody says we can't have fun while we do this.
We'll make sure to put the website in the chat when we get this posted, so everybody can see that. And as we're coming to an end, because I want to respect your time, especially because you need to probably go back and eat more cake, have a piece for me.
I will.
It occurred to me, and I was reminded when you were talking about your op-ed, that it seems in some ways that the Turners have come full circle, having started off as being very strong abolitionists, and today, again, looking at and advocating for abolitionists in a different way. So I think that's cool. I'm excited to see where the Turners goes, especially once we can all get together in the building. So I think that I foresee a future of a great social space for people from all around the city to do everything from meet about politics to play games to listen to some great music. So it's exciting.
I love it. You know, I forgot to mention my favorite two devices is we even have a rock tread wall. So you have to climb rocks while this thing is moving down. So you can burn off the calories from the dinner. And we have this thing called the Rage Cage, which has like 100 different devices to do chin-ups and pull-ups. It's great. Wow. So we can burn off the calories from the tavern once that opens up and see a show.
Maybe do that first before you go to the tavern, or else it's just going to get ugly. Sounds like a fun time. I think I would love to have you back, once we can actually get together and hear how things are going.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to participate. It was great. And please give your wonderful family my love, Rebecca.
And yours as well.
Thanks.
All right. Take care and happy birthday to your Elvis.
Thank you. I'll tell him. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.